taking a deep dive into the world of vitamins and minerals, how they contribute to your overall health, how you get them, and when it's necessary to supplement, if it's necessary to supplement, and we're going to keep it all really simple. So this is actually a very nuanced and complex area of health, but I'm going to try to break it down so that you'll leave here feeling informed and clearer on the subject. So stick with me. Whether you're just beginning your journey to better health, to losing weight, whatever it is, or you already eat really well and you're just looking to fine tune your already fabulous nutrition, you're going to learn something. So like I said, stick with me. I encourage you to really stay engaged throughout this talk. Feel free to ask questions along the way. Just put them in the comments. I will answer them there. And let's make sure that you leave here today with a clearer understanding of how vitamins can be your allies in living a healthier and happier life. And of course, if you know someone who you think might benefit from this, feel free to share it with them. Share this whole training with them. Invite them to the group. Invite them to subscribe. And let's get you up on your micronutrients. You might want to grab a pen and paper for this one. I'll give you a second to do that. There's a lot of notes you might want to be taking as we go through this. Like I said, it's short, it's information packed. So let's get started and embark on this vitamin adventure together. Okay. So I think it's good to start with, what are vitamins and minerals? So vitamins and minerals are also known as micronutrients. Macronutrients are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, and micronutrients are vitamins and minerals. So vitamins and minerals are simply organic compounds. They're really important. In fact, they are essential for numerous physiological functions in our body. So everything our body is doing, all the things that we don't think about, our body needs vitamins and minerals to make all of that happen, okay? They're really, really, really crucial for proper functioning of the body. These tiny powerhouses regulate everything from our immune system to our energy metabolism. They literally impact everything in our bodies. So it's important to think about. So vitamins and nutrients, they usually come from the soil. Plants take them up, plants use them, plants pass them on to us. So we can get them from plant sources. We can also get them from animal sources because the animals eat the plants. Those vitamins go into their muscle tissues. We consume the muscle tissues, and we can get vitamins and minerals that way as well. So how do you know if you are deficient in micronutrients? Because if you're deficient, then that proper functioning of the body is going to be impacted, right? So the fact of the matter is that 92% of Americans are deficient in at least one vitamin or mineral, okay? So really, the standard American diet tends to provide excess energy, but does not meet micronutrient requirements. So in other words, if you are eating the standard American diet, you are most likely eating too many calories, but you're not getting enough nutrients, okay? Another way of saying this is that Americans generally are overfed and undernourished. It has become the American way. And I actually live in Canada. I would argue it has become the North American way. More and more, we're seeing this across North America and in other countries in the world, okay? So you might be deficient if you are eating the standard American diet. So if your diet is not providing you with vitamins and minerals, you will be deficient. Another reason you could potentially be deficient is because studies dating back as far as 1936 have found that the soil of farmland all over the planet is becoming more and more deficient in micronutrients. So what they're finding is that the plants are containing less and less micronutrients because there's less and less micronutrients in the vitamins and minerals in that soil. So because our food contains less vitamins and minerals, we get less even if we're eating good diets. So that is beginning to contribute to some deficiencies. Another reason you could be deficient is if you follow a really strict diet that cuts out entire food groups. This can lead to deficiencies. So how do you know? How do you know if you're deficient? Well, it can be determined through various means. And it often involves a combination of self-assessment and guidance from a healthcare professional. Often testing is needed to know if you're actually deficient. So let's go through the let's go through sort of like the step-by-step process you would use to determine. So a good place to just start is to do a self-assessment. So start paying attention to your body. Symptoms may arise with deficiencies. Often we have to be quite deficient in a nutrient to have persistent symptoms. But if you get to the point where you have consistent, persistent symptoms, it means you're probably really, really, really low in a micronutrient. So pay attention to your body, pay attention to symptoms, pay attention to patterns of symptoms. It could be, and I say could be a sign of a deficiency. So some potential things that you might be looking out for are skin rashes, problems with that. Vision stuff can start to happen, dry eyes, things like that. Energy regulation is a huge one for people. So if you're just feeling fatigued all the time, muscle weakness as well can be a symptom of certain deficiencies. Heart irregularities. So if you feel like your heart kind of doesn't beat evenly, and this is persistent, it could be a vitamin deficiency. You'd want to have that looked at. Your gum health. And for women, your menstrual health. And so menstrual health is sort of a big, vague topic. But an example of this is that often women with really, really heavy periods are anemic, which means they don't have enough iron. But it's sort of a vicious cycle, because what happens is when you're anemic, when you're deficient in iron, you also have heavier periods. So one impacts the other. So if you bleed a lot every month, you definitely want to see a health professional to get your ferritin or your iron levels checked. So just anything that you notice that is a bit off, hair, if your hair is brittle, if your hair is falling out a lot, definitely want to and this is a pattern, you want to pay attention to that. So just start by paying attention to your body regularly. The next thing you want to do is go through a dietary analysis. So review your dietary habits. Be honest when you do this, please, 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 okay? If you have a diet that lacks diversity or excludes certain food groups, you need to be honest with yourself about how you potentially could be experiencing vitamin deficiencies. I'll give you an example of this as well. Vegans and vegetarians often are low in B vitamins, right? Because often we get most of our B vitamins from meat products. There are ways around this. There are ways to deal with it, but you have to be very mindful in your diet of taking care of that. Another example would be people who are doing like a carnivore diet are often, they often have great iron levels and things like that, but they're really deficient in other things like vitamin C and things like that. So if you are cutting out entire food groups, really having your levels tested is a good idea. And if you're eating that standard American diet, if you look at your plate and it is white and brown, most times you eat, you're probably not getting the nutrients that you need. So do a dietary analysis. The next thing you want to do is look at your medical history and risk factors. So certain medications, certain medical conditions can cause deficiencies. You want to discuss these with your doctor. If you can get in the genetic testing, like the ancestry and the 21andMe, 22andMe, whatever it's called, you can find out if you pay for it, if you're predisposed to certain conditions that would mean that you have absorption issues with certain vitamins and minerals. So that's an interesting thing. And then of course, lifestyle factors can increase the risk of vitamin deficiencies. So if you are a smoker, if you consume a lot of alcohol, things like this, if you don't go out in the sun, we're going to talk about that later, these can put you at risk. So these are the risk factors. So again, be honest with yourself. And if you have a family history of anything, please talk to a healthcare professional. And then testing. So testing is a great way to find out if you are low or deficient in certain micronutrients. The caveat I would say here is that you have to make sure you are getting the correct testing done. You cannot get a blood test for every nutrient. It's not how it works, okay? When we look at the blood serum levels of some nutrients, it is not a accurate indicator of the levels in your body and whether or not you're getting enough. So there's blood tests, bone tests, genetic testing, and functional testing that can be done to determine what you're deficient in, but it is really important that you're using the right test for the right nutrient, okay? Again, speak with your healthcare professional. Functional medicine doctors are really into this and often very keen to participate in this kind of testing, naturopaths as well. Sometimes your GP, general practitioner doctor, is willing and happy to do that. Sometimes they're not. It just really depends. Often it depends on where you live. But at the end of the day, really, if you're going to start supplementing big time, then I really do advise consulting a healthcare professional, right? And if you suspect, so if you've gone through the self-assessment and the dietary analysis and the medical history and risk factors, and you suspect that you may have a deficiency, if you're experiencing symptoms, go see a doctor, get the testing done, make sure it's the appropriate testing. Okay, so how do we get enough vitamins and minerals? So research has shown that whole foods outperform supplements every single time in terms of absorption and in combating disease and in, more importantly, sort of pushing disease away. So whole foods, getting these from whole foods is always better for your body than getting it from a supplement. Okay, maybe this isn't the answer you wanted to hear. Maybe you wanted to say, what are the you wanted to hear me tell you the 3 magic supplements you should be taking that was going to make it all better. I am a firm believer, and science backs me up on this one. The best way to get these nutrients is from your food. Okay. So the cool thing about whole foods is that they contain a mix of vitamins and minerals and phytochemicals, right? So like when you eat a leaf of spinach, it's not just vitamin C. There's a whole bunch of minerals and nutrients in there, right? And the cool thing is it's almost like divine design, is that often whatever particular mix is in a food is the mix that you need for proper absorption and utilization for the body. Calcium, vitamin D, and vitamin K they work together. It's important that you're getting enough of all of them, okay? And so often the foods that contain those, right? Often foods that contain one of them contain all of them. So it's pretty interesting. So nature's kind of cool that way. So getting your nutrients from whole food is always the best approach to take. If you are not getting sufficient micronutrients from diet, then supplementation may be necessary. If you're not, it is necessary. So whether or not you need to be supplementing really depends on your eating habits. Again, if you're cutting out whole food groups, it depends on your lifestyle habits. Again, if you're a smoker, if you're a heavy drinker, it also depends on your age and specific medical conditions. Not going to go into huge detail on the age and the specific medical conditions. This talk would be way too long. Feel free to talk to your healthcare professional about that. So get them from food whenever possible. How do you do that? It's actually pretty easy, right? So I have sort of like, I call them the 13 tips and tricks. I'm going to go over the 13 tips and tricks of getting your vitamins through food. And then I'm going to kind of wrap them up in sort of 3 rules, I call them. And if you follow the 3 rules, you should be good. So the 13 tips and tricks are: eat a variety of foods, consume a diet that is diverse. So include multicolored vegetables, not the vegetable itself being multicolored, but include lots of colors of vegetables in your diet. Include some grains in there, proteins, and healthy fats. Every day, have all of these, variety in everyday life, and you're going to be hitting your nutrient goals. Number 2, prioritize fresh and whole foods. You'll notice earlier I said whole foods is the best way to get your nutrients. So whole foods are foods that are not processed. These foods are typically really rich in vitamins, really rich in minerals. They include vegetables, fruits, whole grains, minimally processed meat. These are all excellent choices. So the rule of thumb is the more processed a food is, the more nutritionally void it is. So the more that has been done to the food, the less nutritional value it has. So how can you make sure that you're getting the food that has more nutritional value? Shop the outside of the grocery store. Okay, the outside of the grocery store. Do not go in the aisles in the middle. Okay, number 3, this was sort of goes with the variety of food. Choose colorful vegetables and fruits, right? So you're like, yeah, I eat tons of vegetables. I eat like corn and potatoes every day. Not good enough. We need to see lots of colors on your plates, okay? So the more colors you can be cramming into your meals, the better. So really those like reds, purples, green, like the bright greens, like the vibrant, they look alive, right? And so these colorful vegetables, the colors often indicate their nutrient content. It's kind of cool. So always aim for a rainbow of colors on your plate to ensure that you're getting a variety of vitamins and minerals. Include proteins. We often think about vitamins and minerals existing only in vegetables and fruits. This is not true. So proteins like poultry, fish, tofu, legumes, red meat, they all provide essential vitamins, especially B vitamins, iron, zinc, that are not necessarily found in sufficient quantities in the fruits and vegetables. Nuts and seeds, number 5. So nuts and seeds, almonds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, sesame seeds, these are all rich in micronutrients, okay? So include nuts and seeds. 2 things with this. Number 1 is they pack a punch calorically, right? So a little goes a long way. You don't need to be eating a cup of almonds every day to meet your nutrient levels, right? Just a little bit goes a long way. They're loaded in healthy fats, but they have a lot of calories in them. So be mindful of that. The other thing is that peanuts, they're not actually a nut or seed. I know they're delicious. Peanut butter is literally one of my favorite foods. It's not that good for you. So include nuts and seeds, but minimize your peanut intake. Whole grains. Number 6, this is a controversial one these days. So whole grains like brown rice, whole wheat, quinoa, they contain vitamin B vitamins, which are really good, plus lots of other vitamins. All of those vitamins come in the germ and the bran of the grain. This is also where there is something called a lectin. And there is some evidence that lectins are maybe a little bit difficult on the body. They might increase inflammation, things like that. So there's a lot out there these days about how you shouldn't be eating grains, you shouldn't be eating carbs. So the whole grains, this one it's a bit controversial. I'm not going to go into it too much here. If you want to make sure you're getting your B vitamins and you don't want to eat grains, that's fine. But just make sure you're including other sources, meat, seafood, root vegetables. Healthy fats. So healthy fats, great for you. They have the fat in them, really good. They also contain vitamins and minerals, right? So avocados, olive oil, fatty fish, they all provide great nutrients like vitamin E, D, your omega-3 fatty acids. So include those in your diet as well. This one's fun. So use herbs and spices. Many herbs and spices are rich in vitamins and antioxidants. Like a small amount packs like tons of nutrients into it. So for instance, parsley and cilantro are really good sources of vitamin K. It's really concentrated sources. It's yummy. It makes your food taste yummy. Turmeric is known for its anti-inflammatory properties. So these spices and herbs, use them in your cooking. They're really, really, really good for you. I try to use parsley or cilantro in every single dinner that I make because it's so good for you. They're just good at cleaning out the blood. I could go on and on. Cooking methods. This is another one people don't think about. How you cook your food impacts the nutrient level in it. So when we boil things, when we deep fry things, and when we generally overcook things, you know, your grandma's broccoli that just kind of crumbled and fell apart and was no longer green, there's no nutrient left in that. So when we boil, deep fry, or overcook things, it sucks all the vitamins and minerals out of it. It becomes nutritionally void. So we want to avoid these ways of cooking. And we want to instead, steaming's great, roasting's great, lightly sauteing vegetables, so not too high of a heat, not overcooking, simmering as opposed to boiling the bejesus out of something, right? Really helps retain vitamin content. So learn how to cook a different way potentially, depending on how you're cooking now. Limit processed food. This goes back to the top one, right? Processed and fast foods are almost always very low on nutrients. Sometimes they're fortified, which means they basically take all the nutrients out of a food and then put a supplement into it, which is a bit crazy if you think about it, right? So when you see on packaging, fortified with vitamin D or fortified with, what's another one? Fortified with iron. It means that they're putting a supplement in your food, essentially, right? So processed and fast foods usually contain fewer vitamins than whole foods. So reducing your intake of the processed foods really can help, and replacing it with whole foods can help maintain your vitamin intake. Balance your plate. So aim for a balanced plate that includes a portion of protein, like a quarter of your plate, a little bit of healthy fat, a couple tablespoon or two, depending on what it is, and that rainbow of vegetables, fruits and vegetables, right? If every plate that you eat, every meal that you eat looks like this, you will naturally cover your vitamin needs. Pay attention to portion size. You're like, what does this have to do with vitamins and minerals? Well, eating more doesn't mean that you're getting more nutrients, okay? So even if it's healthy food, overeating, even if it's healthy food, can lead to excess calorie intake. And we always want to avoid that. We don't want to be consuming more calories than we need. It leads to all sorts of problems in the body. We want to be consuming what we do need. And we don't necessarily get more vitamins. So it's like the almonds. You don't need a cup of almonds. Have a small little handful of almonds, right? So just always be mindful of your portion size. So that was a lot. So let's break that down into the 3 very simple rules. Okay, so all of those things crammed into 3 simple rules. This is really what you have to remember. Write these down. Shop the outer aisles of the grocery store. The food that you eat is the food that's in your house. The food that's in your house is the food that you just bought at the grocery store. Okay, if you buy chocolate bars and they're in your house, you're going to eat the chocolate bars. If you buy Doritos, they're in your house, you're going to eat the Doritos. So this starts at the grocery store. It all starts at the grocery store. Don't even go into those middle aisles. Don't even go into them. You don't need to. There's nothing there that you need. Okay? The middle aisles of the grocery store are nothing but ill health. Maybe go into the middle one that has the dental floss in it, because that's really important. But you don't need those chips. You don't need these, okay? So these are treats to be had once in a while. So when you shop the outer aisles of the grocery store, that means you're shopping produce. That means you're shopping meat. That means you're potentially shopping dairy, and you're potentially shopping bakery, okay? Avoid the aisles of the grocery store. That's where clean eating starts, okay? It doesn't start at home. It starts in the grocery store. If you're shopping the outer aisles of the grocery store, you're going to be getting the variety of diet. You're going to be getting the whole foods. You're going to be getting the rainbow, okay? Make sure, this is rule number 2, make sure every meal contains protein, a variety of colorful vegetables, and a small amount of healthy fat. You can add some grains in there if you want to. That's that controversial subject. That's up to you. But make sure you're getting the protein. A quarter of your plate is protein. You got like half the plate. Minimum half the plate, I always say, is the colorful vegetables. So maybe you have some braised cabbage on there. If you haven't had braised cabbage, let me know. I'm going to send you a recipe. It's the yummiest thing, braised red cabbage. So you have some meat, maybe you have some braised red cabbage. You're getting that purple yumminess. Then maybe you have some, it's winter, so I like cooked foods. Then maybe you have some steamed spinach, right? Or maybe you have some broccoli, right? Maybe you have a couple slices of daikon. I know it sounds weird. It's delicious, right? So healthy, colorful vegetables, small amount of healthy fat, maybe some olive oil on those veggies, maybe a bit of butter. But make sure you're getting all those things. If you're getting all those things, you're going to be getting your nutrients, okay? And then learn to cook using methods such as steaming, sauteing at low heat and not overcooking things, roasting, braising. I'm a big fan of soups and stews, but I always do it at a low simmer. We never reach boiling point. So if you do not know how to cook using these methods, Google's great for this. Okay, try out some new recipes. This is going to help your food retain its nutrients. Some people I know here at this point are going to ask about, what about raw food? Raw food, again, that's the more you cook a food, generally, there's some exceptions to this, but the more you cook a food, depending on how you cook it, the more nutrients are pulled out of it. So yes, raw food generally, again, there's some exceptions, contains higher levels of the nutrients. That said, for most people, because we don't have like our gut health for a lot of us is not as good as it used to be. The raw food, it's a little bit harder to digest, and so absorption does not occur, or doesn't occur very well. So actually cooking your food a little bit so that it's more easily digestible allows you to absorb more of those nutrients. So there might be fewer nutrients in it, but your body's able to absorb more nutrients. So raw is fine. For a lot of us, there's malabsorption issues there. There's also a lot of schools of thought that believe, and there is some science to back this up, and I would say experiment with it, because you'll notice a difference probably. In the colder months, if you live in colder climates, eating warm food is really important. If you live in like Canada, where I live, not on the West Coast because it's warmer there, and you eat salads all winter long, I would highly suggest trying to eat some cooked food and just see how you feel. You might find that your digestive health is better. You might find that you have more energy. Play around with it. Okay, so those are the 3 rules. Shop the outer aisles of the grocery store. That's where nutrition starts, is at the grocery store. Make sure you're getting just the outer aisles: produce, meat, dairy, bakery, maybe not. Make sure every meal contains protein, a variety of healthy, colorful vegetables, this is most of your plate, and a small amount of healthy fat. And learn to use cooking methods that preserve more of the nutrient value of the food: steaming, sauteing at low heat, roasting, and braising. Because at the end of the day, it really is best to obtain vitamins and minerals through whole food. That's what we just want to remember. Sometimes we have to supplement. So when do we know when we supplement? Get the test done. Just get the test done. I know it might not be what you want to hear. You're also going to spend less money. You don't want to be spending money on supplements you don't need, right? And if it's a water-soluble vitamin, you literally just pee it out. If your body doesn't need it, you might be just peeing money away. It's a fat-soluble vitamin. It can build up in your body and cause toxicity issues. So we don't want to be taking supplements we don't need. But just if you want to like a rough guideline of maybe what you should be looking for, the most common vitamin mineral inadequacies in America are vitamin A, 50% of adults, vitamin C, 42% of adults, vitamin D, 95% of adults have inadequate levels of vitamin D. Vitamin E, 93% of adults are not getting enough vitamin E. Vitamin K, 71%. Calcium is 49%. Magnesium is 60%. And potassium is 97%. And of course, for women, common inadequacies can be iron, iodine, and B6, 12, and folate. It's important to note these that I'm mentioning are inadequacies, not deficiencies. So deficiencies mean that you're getting such a small amount that it can cause problems like disease. And inadequacies mean you're getting under the recommended daily allowance. So this is where more of a cumulative thing would happen, and then potentially problems could arise at a later date. We don't want to get there though, so we don't want to be getting inadequate quantities of vitamins. Okay. I have a whole list of vitamins. I'm at 30 minutes here, like I said, I'm trying to keep these shorter. So I'm not going to go through the whole micronutrient cheat sheet. If you want a copy of that vitamin and mineral cheat sheet, great. I will make sure you get it. Comment below cheat sheet, and I will send you the cheat sheet for the vitamins and minerals, because I don't have time to go through the whole thing right now. I am, however, going to I'll touch on D and E and K, because so many people are deficient in them, and potassium as well, because people are deficient and there's some important stuff to be said about those. So D, vitamin D, really important for bone health, really important for immune health, really important for skin health. It's really, really, really important, crucial nutrient. They're all important. Symptoms of deficiency can be just feeling weakness, decreased immunity if you're getting sick, if you're getting infections all the time. If you have bone pain, if you have like weird achy bones and you don't have arthritis and you can't figure out what it was, it could be a vitamin D deficiency. So vitamin D is interesting because this is one of the ones you can get it from food. You can get it from fatty fish. You can get it from egg yolks. There are foods that are fortified with it. But for the most part, we get vitamin D from sun exposure. This is the only nutrient on the list like this. You have to be in the sun to get vitamin D. Our body produces it from sun exposure. We happen to live in a world, well, some of us live in northern climes where there's maybe not a lot of sun half the year. But we also live in a world where we spend a large amount of time indoors and where we often wear sunscreen when we go outside. So vitamin D deficiencies are going up. More of us are more often vitamin D deficient. And it's a really, really important vitamin. This is one, if there's one vitamin that you're going to take and supplement, this is the one I would say, because chances are, unless you work outside and you're outside all the time, chances are you are deficient in this vitamin. So supplement with it. Always make sure your supplements are coming from a good source. There's the environmental working group. There's some sites online that kind of rate the different vitamins. You always, one thing I would say is you just want to make sure that they are third-party tested. And if you're buying your vitamins at a vitamin store, the employees there should be able to help you with this. But we always want to make sure there is a third party testing our vitamins to make sure they are what they say they are and that there's not high levels of metals and things like that. So vitamin D is a huge one. Unless you are outside all the time, I would say supplement with this one. Vitamin E I want to talk about because a lot of people are not getting enough of it. It's really important for cell function. It's really important for our nervous system. It's really important for women's female health. And the one with this one, though, is that high doses of it can lead to bleeding disorders. So this is one that I would actually recommend not supplementing because it can be a bit tricky, this one. It's a fat-soluble one. Your body stores it up. So this one, I would say, just really make sure you're getting enough in your diet. So this is nuts and seeds, okay? Green vegetables, avocados. Avocados are great. Actually, these have vitamin E in them, and just making sure you're getting those green veggies, nuts and seeds, and avocados, okay? You can get it from vegetable oils, but vegetable oils are actually really bad for you. So avoid the vegetable oils and get it from the whole food. Vitamin K. This is kind of a new one on the scene in a lot of ways. You need this in conjunction with vitamin D and calcium for strong bones. It's important for blood clotting. And so this one's really important, especially for women, because we're more predisposed to osteoporosis, okay? The great thing about this one is it's really easy to get in our diets. Just eat green vegetables, okay? If you're eating green vegetables, kale, spinach, broccoli, they don't have to be leafy, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, you're going to be getting enough vitamin K, okay? There's also really high levels of vitamin K in something called natto, which is a fermented soybean product. It's Japanese food. So if you like that, that's a great place to get your vitamin K from. Vitamin P. It's not a vitamin, it's a mineral. Mineral P, potassium. This one's huge. 97% of Americans are not getting enough potassium. It's so important. It's important for muscle function. It's important for blood pressure. If you are feeling like regular muscle weakness, if you're fatigued all the time, if your heartbeat is irregular, it could be a potassium deficiency. This is really important. For us to use the water that we drink, we need to have electrolytes. So you may have heard talk of electrolyte levels in your body need to be at a certain place. Potassium is one of those electrolytes. We need it. We don't get enough, okay? I actually use an electrolyte powder to make sure that I'm getting enough of those electrolytes, one of which is potassium. Foods that you can get it in, dried apricots, prunes, and raisins are all really high in potassium. We think of bananas, and yeah, they have potassium in them, but they're not the highest. So those dried fruits that I just mentioned, lentils, squash, are all really high in potassium. Bananas do have some potassium in it, not nearly enough. Potatoes do as well, but you have to eat them with the skin on. So This is another one where your potassium levels, I would really start incorporating foods that contain potassium, or maybe in my water bottle, I put a scoop of it. You can see it's kind of cloudy looking. It's because there's electrolyte powder in there and it has potassium in it. So if you want that cheat sheet with all of the other vitamins, and it has the roles they play, symptoms and deficiencies, dietary sources, and the sort of excessive intake risk, I'd be happy to send it to you. Let me know in the comments if you want it. There's also a section there specifically for women, so for iron, iodine, B6, 12, and folate. Because I don't have time to go into it today. But I hope you enjoyed this talk. Let me know in the comments what you thought. If you want to know more about this, reach out to me just in the comments. Let me know that you'd like to know more about micronutrients and vitamins and whether or not you should be tested. We can have a conversation about that. If you are watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and get more really great information about how you can just incorporate healthy living habits into your life to feel happier and healthier all the time. And on that note, I hope you all have a fantastic end of your week, and I'll see you next week with another training. Bye.